The greatest honor history can bestow is the title of peacemaker. This honor now beckons America, the chance to help lead the world at last out of the valley of turmoil and onto that high ground of peace that man has dreamed of since the dawn of civilization. If we succeed, generations to come will say of us now living that we mastered our moment, that we helped make the world safe for mankind.
I love it. Richard Nixon, Inauguration Day, January 20th, 1969, the 37th President of the United States. What could be better than being a peacemaker? President Trump is the peacemaker. All right, he has settled numerous wars already, and he wants to solve this one. And it kind of makes sense that President Trump, the 47th and 45th president, was friends with the 37th president of the United States. So this great big meeting is happening in Alaska on Friday between Putin and President Trump. Of course, they met before during the first term, and I think it's great. And yeah, sure, our hopes are high, but maybe they're going to have to meet again. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's worth the effort, don't you think? With all these people dying all the time, what is the death toll up to right now? I heard something like wide estimates from 400,000 to 1 million. Who knows? But it's too many, and we want it to stop. It's fascinating that, you know, President Trump, this person who actually they portray as a monster, right? The swamp does. Oh, he's not empathetic. He's tough. He's stern. But compared to Joe Biden, Donald Trump is totally Mr. Empathy. He wants the killing to stop. Joe Biden over the years never talked about peace. It was always more money, more weapons. It's really interesting to see these guys side by side.
Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying.
Last week, I signed an $800 million package of security assistance to Ukraine. Today, I'm announcing another $800 million to further augment Ukraine's ability to fight in the east, in the Donbas region.
You know what the side I'm on? Humanity's side. I want to stop the killing of thousands of people a week. I want to stop the killing. I want the killing to stop in the Ukraine-Russia war.
We sent Ukraine more security assistance last year, $650 million in weapons. Once the war started, we immediately rushed $350 million in additional aid to further address their needs. My administration authorized another $200 million to keep a steady flow of weapons and ammunition.
I'm for stopping killing, really. That's what I'm for. Again, a war that would have never started, should have never started. I want to see the killing stop.
I approve the next tranche of U.S. security assistance to Ukraine, including more artillery, more ammunition, more anti-tank weapons, and next week, the first U.S. Abrams tanks will be delivered to Ukraine.
It's amazing to watch. You know, liberals in this country, Vietnam at least, right? They were all for peace, not war. President Trump is for peace. Joe Biden was for a never-ending war, and I have some theories as to why. Deeply, deeply compromised. So it's going to take place in Anchorage, Alaska, at that Elmendorf Air Force Base, which is, way, way, way up north. But it's actually a pretty nice base. Yeah, it's in Alaska. And guess what they have up there? Skiing. They actually have a ski slope right on the base. Now, just a wild idea here. Putin knows how to ski. Did you know that Putin is actually a pretty decent skier? There he is on the left. And so is President Trump, known to hit the slopes at Aspen for many, many years. I don't know. Could they possibly ski together as a way to break the ice, or maybe afterwards or something like that? Other presidents have done similar things when they have these summits. And it's not like they're going to get too cozy or anything like that. Remember, President Trump, here he is in church, talking to President Zelensky. You know, most presidents won't do these kinds of things because, oh my goodness, what if it doesn't work? People will point the finger at me. Some risks are worth taking, especially when it comes to ending a war. Don't you think? Next, please.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
He could never bring peace. I don't think he really wanted to. There was something deeply, obviously one-sided about him, too invested in Ukraine and maybe afraid of Russia. Look at the body language, right? This is when he met with Putin. And I got to tell you, there's something kind of like, he was so smiley with them. There was something just kind of wrong about Joe's demeanor. You can see when they sit next to each other, Joe is all smiles and weird, and Putin is just taking it in, just kind of studying this guy and weighing his options. When was that? Sometime in August, I think, June of 2021. What happened less than a year later? Putin invades Ukraine. Is that an accident, right? He sized up the man. He sized up Joe Biden. He thought, I can actually do this. I can get away with it. And he did, and he has. I know there's a big alliance and all that stuff, but this war has gone on for a very long time. And Joe, his dealings over there, I think, have they clouded his judgment. There he is with the Ukraine president at one point. Joe was just a little bit too involved with Ukraine, right? 3 days before he gets out of office in 2017, he's the vice president of the United States. Joe goes all the way over to Switzerland to meet with the Ukrainian president, who was also there.
Mr. President, I may have to call you once every couple weeks just to hear your voice. It's been going on a long time.
Now, why would he want to do that? He's touching base just before he leaves office. Why? Could it have anything to do with Hunter? You're damn right. You're damn right. Real quick reminder, this is a man who is kind of bragging about corruption in plain sight. And if he talks about it, somehow it makes it okay. It doesn't, but I think that was his MO.
They were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
I know you've seen that clip before, but it's fascinating, and it shows that Joe was compromised. You got to ask Joe Biden someday, if I ever meet him, was there ever a prosecutor in any country in the world, other than the one where your son had a very big and lucrative job, where you demanded that the prosecutor, Shokin, be fired? And Shokin, forget the fake news, forget, oh, this was an interagency priority in the European Union. Shokin was investigating Burisma. And Burisma is where Hunter Biden got a lot of money, right? It's pretty cut and dried. And, oh, by the way, they do tape a lot of things over there in Eastern Europe. The Russians tape everybody, and the Ukrainians tape everybody. Got to watch out for that. Everybody's got one of these things now, right? And that conversation he was bragging about, this is what really happened. Here he is on the phone, not calling the shots here. He's begging for a favor to be done, to get the prosecutor off the case of his son's company.
Yesterday, I meet with the General Prosecutor Shokin.
Yes.
And despite of the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information about he doing something wrong, I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday, I especially asked him to resign.
Great.
And this is my second step for keeping my promises.
I agree.
They taped the phone call. The president of Ukraine at the time taped the phone call. What other tapes exist? Is this why Joe Biden is yelling his head off and was yelling his head off and getting all those weapons and money to Ukraine, right? Could it have had something to do with all of his financial entanglements with that very corrupt country? Absolutely. All right, next, please. The deep state. You've heard about these major players who we believe set up a trap, tried to sabotage the Trump administration off of bogus stuff about Russia. These are the major players. And also, yes, the ones who are probably going to be indicted first, Comey, Clapper in the middle, and Brennan, the CIA director under Obama. But there are some lesser figures who also are going to be in trouble, or at least should be. And some of these individuals worked for Trump, like this one. Who's that? Fiona Hill. She was a National Security Council staffer and a two-faced piece of work. You know, she was very grim and anti-Trump during these impeachment hearings. But when she had the job, everybody said she was one of the team, right? Take a look. There she is at the end, take it full. And she's sitting next to Mike Pompeo and Trump, and everybody's happy. But then she gets the word from, I don't know who, but she shows up at the impeachment inquiry. Remember over the Ukraine phone call? I mean, that in and of itself, that's an indictment not of Trump, but of the swamp. And listen to how she kicks things off.
I take great pride in the fact that I'm a non-partisan foreign policy expert who has served under 3 Republican and Democratic presidents. I have no interest in advancing the outcome of your inquiry in any particular direction except toward the truth.
Non-partisan, what a total snob and a treacherous person. So, like those other guys who wrote books, she wrote a book too. And she said way too much stuff in it. Remember the Women's March right around when President Trump became president in 2017, right? It was kind of ludicrous, okay? Those silly, vulgar hats that they were wearing and this massive protest, and he just became president. The nonpartisan woman that we just heard, guess where she was on that day? She was there! She was marching in the dumb thing.
Just being a woman became an obstacle to getting their job done. None of this was surprising, given President Trump's documented history with women. I had taken part in the Women's March in January 2017, protesting the way that he'd talked about women during the presidential campaign.
You know, like Laura Loomer sometimes says, who's doing the vetting? Who was doing the vetting back then? Are you crazy? Are you crazy or what? She winds up there with Vindman on the National Security Council staff in the first term, trying to sabotage President Trump, writing a nasty, silly book, but she implicates herself more than anybody else. Take a look at this little section. The Greek Prime Minister shows up. She's on the National Security Council staff, and there's an incident with a Fox News guy that you may know of. Check this out.
I found myself in trouble after an incident with visiting Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras during an October 2017 press conference in the Rose Garden. At the end of their respective remarks, Fox News reporter John Roberts asked Tsipras if he still stood by his comments from March 2016 that Trump was evil. A dark cloud came over the president's face. He glared at both Roberts and Tsipras. I wish I'd known that before my remarks, he said.
Before my remarks, with an exclamation point. So let's see the actual moment. And she actually screwed up. This is her fault. But watch John Roberts. And oh, by the way, yeah, John Roberts is trying to embarrass, right? This is what Fox, right? They're just trying to embarrass people. That's what they do. That's what fake news people do.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.